So a teachable heart that I'm talking about is the heart that will accept that, listen guys, we've got the statistics. Now for once and for all, just listen. Stop this thing to saying, it's my aeroplane, I will do what I want to. I know. All right?
You know, we're going to preach to the converted, but it doesn't matter as long as you can sit and talk about safety, that's all good. And I think today, we spoke a lot about it this morning, if there's three things that we really need to pay attention to, it's called mental health and well-being. It's the way that it's something that's there. And I think recency and competency in the aviation industry, and it's not only pilots, make no mistake, it's the whole industry, everybody. Anyway, so Andre, we spoke about yesterday, it says what is nice and that is something that is really good news for him is the proactive and positive approach to what is close to us all, especially as aviators, and that's aviation safety. So Andre, if I can start with you, mentioning the fact we're now also looking at safety differently. They spoke about it, safety is done and safety is imagined to be done. What we also call safety to focus on the positives. Can I ask you to talk a little bit more about how do you see the positives in all this?
Thanks, Cobus. I think the fact that we have such a crowd on a Saturday afternoon when there's rugby and beer going tells us something already. Safety by its very nature focuses on what has gone wrong. Why would things happen? How did it happen? What happened? Whereas the safety 2 philosophy, which I'm unsure how many are familiar with, looks at what has gone right. Why are we here today? Why did we see 2 great displays now, despite the weather, despite certain risks? But we've ensured that it went well. So the safety 2 philosophy is something I hold very dearly in focusing on the positive side of everything we do, not only flying, our mere existence, our livelihoods, whether you go on your boat, on your motorbike, in your helicopter, or in your aircraft, and how to enhance that in a positive sense and focus on that rather than the 0.0001, whatever that increment is, of things that go wrong. Combined with that, and I'm sure Dave will be able to enlighten us on that, is positive psychology. Why would you go to a psychologist where nothing is wrong? And that's the way we program. You go to a psychologist because something has gone wrong. And the twist with positive psychology, similar to safety 2, is let's look at what's gone right. Go to the psychologist and tell him, I've experienced this, which has been fantastic, my life, my wife, my marriage, my children, anything, my flying. So safety 2, specifically, I endorse the philosophy and really push for that. What is the positives that we can take out of every single moment and not only focus on the negative side of our lives?
Thank you, Andre. And this is what I was looking for this morning when I was fumbling over my words. They say you must respect your wife's choices. You are one of them. Dave, anybody else would like to add to that? Anything specific?
I think just to add to Andre's point is that I've been beating this drum last week in Stellenbosch. And I think is a really important part of what we're missing in South African aviation, and that is that we're not, in addition to what Andre is saying, we're not learning from our accidents. We're not learning from our incidents. As an industry and as people, we're not learning fast enough. I endorse what Andre has just said, but it is equally important to take a learning mindset to becoming safe. A very difficult thing with safety is that if you use the US military definition of safety, which is freedom from loss, it's difficult to aim at something that doesn't exist. So I want you to think about that for a moment. What do you actually aim at if you want to create safety? And that does mean that we need to think about it differently. Safety is an emergent property. In other words, it is something that arises out of the way in which you do things. You have to aim at what you do to be done in a way that creates safety. Or should I say, creates a greater likelihood of having safety. So by following Andre's philosophy, you're actually aiming at something. If you look at the positive, you're aiming at what you do, rather than ticking boxes or in some other way fooling yourself into thinking that you've created safety.
Well, thanks so much, guys. I think the way that things are going forward in aviation safety internationally is fine, but we need to stay abreast and really apply the safety differently methods and everything that we do, and especially so too in the accident investigation field. And unfortunately, nothing is easy. Nothing that's worth the while is easy. And we have to practice it. We have to do what is important every day and be consistent with that as well. Something I just want to ask the panel to keep in your minds when we finish off today is a short statement of what do you think you're still here today? What made you safe? I was going to ask it earlier on and I forgot. So I forgot what mine was. So I'll ask you about that. We'll discuss it a little bit more. So thanks for that. The next thing, Eric. I'll ask Eric. Now he knew this is one of my not pet hates, one of my passionate problems in life. The question is, why do they, who's they? Eric, I'll find that out as well. Classify pilot error as the most common cause of aircraft accidents. No pilot wants to end up in such a situation. And to me, it's not a pet hate. It's just I'm very passionate about that. And because I'm also in the association, we're there to look after the pilots, because I firmly believe it's not only pilots that cause accidents, we simply inherit failures in the system. The other question I can ask is pilot or human error? Is it a human error? Yeah, some people are nice to say human error, but they actually mean pilot error. So if pilot error is human error and human error is human nature, I mean, then it's a blinding flash of the obvious. I mean, if I can ask you now, which accidents are not caused by human error? Anybody? Any takers? So, what does it say? And I'm not saying pilots do not cause accidents, but the day is going to come, you're going to do the investigation, you get to the crash site and there's no pilot. So what now? There goes your database. Anyway, I don't want to make too much of that. I want to ask the specialist to talk about it. And that's basically what Dave also mentioned. This is why we keep on saying this. We are having the same accidents because we don't know why. We don't know all the whys in accident causation. So sometimes we just stop at pilot error. It's an easy one to fix because the pilot's already gone. And this morning, for those who were there as well, I always ask the question, if pilots make mistakes, who die? ATC makes a mistake, who dies? And it can carry on like that. Now for the panel, Dave, can I throw it back to you? Because you started with this morning, and you know, Eric thinks it's only me that thinks like that. And then for the rest, I'm going to ask a short, maybe a summary of it as well. Well, how do you perceive it? And where to from here, that's the most important thing, especially general aviation.
I'll be very quick. In the 1930s, a researcher called Heinrich reviewed thousands of industrial accidents and came up with this concept of it was either a technical fault or human error. He also came up with domino theory, which is called in accident causation. This raises, it almost forces you into an argument to say if it's not technical failure, then it must have been human error or pilot error. So in order to think about this differently, I'd like you to think about an error that we probably have all made. You walk up to a door and it says push only, and you grab the handle and you pull it towards you, and then realize that if the door won't open, you have to push it. The rate of making that error, if you change that handle into a flat plate, changes radically. Design is extremely important in whether you have error or not. And error is something that you can only see with hindsight. I am about to make an insinuation that a fellow from London University says very beautifully on YouTube, and that is that this research that was done in the 1930s, these thousands of accidents, was done by somebody working for the insurance industry. He was in the business of refuting claims for workmen's compensation. And so at the very heart of whether it was technical or human error is actually a tussle in the actors that play within that industry. We need to think about it very differently. I would argue that human error is something that is only seen with hindsight afterwards. It's not something that you thought beforehand, and that it's something that we use primarily to attribute blame.
Remember that the pilot was involved in the accident, and he was probably first on the accident scene. So that's the easy scapegoat. And we've seen this now with, what was it, 737 MAX, where the human error actually started with the designing, or let's say the compensation for the design that was taking place. Not going into that, the problem was at the end of the day is the pilot is not the only one in the line of fire, but we're always at the cold face. So when we do accident investigation, it's not to look who to blame, but we want to see why it happened. Now, was it technical? Was it a lack of capability? Whether that was a skills level or a knowledge level, or was it not following the necessary SOPs, whatever the case might be. And it was a good thing that you said that we're repeating the same accidents over and over and over again. This month, the 113th article will be placed in the African Pilot that I wrote, and this, although there was 113 different accidents, the sequence of causation actually stays the same. And the central role that we play in it is mind-boggling. So yes, we can talk about human factors and all that. I want to put it on the table that if you haven't got a teachable heart, human factors has got, well, no relevance.
Easily. Yeah. I was going to say, if you're facing, I'm not sure of the context that you're, can you think of an aviation context for that, Charlie?
I've got to ask you, in context of what? You know, I was sitting in the car listening to, is it a type A or is it a type B personality, and everybody's got their thing about that. I'm not worried about that. Somebody, when you come and you say, I understand that we can learn faster through experience, but something and everything needs to start at ground zero. Somebody must teach you what is acceptable and what is not acceptable. And some people will just follow and they will do what they are told. Now, the airline cannot get away from this. The airline tells you what to do, and if you don't do it, you're in trouble. End of game. They're not intolerable to what we want to do. But the moment that the oversight is less, then all of a sudden we do what we want to do until we're compelled to do what we must do. In other words, I will do the wrong thing until I see I've got to do the right thing to save my own butt. Now, there's two ways that we can think about that. You get some people that want to follow the rules, respect the rules, carry on with the rules, and some people, doesn't matter how much you talk to them and what you dislike, water off a duck's back.
So which rule? And I want you to think about violations in the following way. Professor James Reason split up human error into slips, lapses, mistakes, and violations. Slips is your attention is drawn elsewhere. Lapses is a memory failure, and a mistake is a failure of a plan. And a violation is an intentional breaking of a known rule or procedure. But which violation? Because there's 5 of them. An unintentional one, I didn't know the rules. A situational one, if I followed the rules I wouldn't have stayed safe. an organizational optimizing one, I did it in the best interest of the company, or a personal optimizing one, I did it for my own selfish gains, or a reckless one, in which I didn't care at all about the consequences and I knew what the consequences were. You have to define which type of violation it is in order to know what sort of action to take and how to learn from it. It's not as simple as there's the rules, follow them. Because sometimes if you follow them, you won't stay safe.
I found with general aviation that people do think, especially if you talk about on the PPL side and things like that, they think of what they must do. They don't really understand the full picture of what's going on. And the moment, like Dave mentioned earlier, and he says you must push instead of pull, that break of a second that you must think about something shouldn't be there. You must actually know all the consequences beforehand, and that should come out of the training and the exposure of the people at the end of the day. Now, if we take the military there, we were primary soldiers and secondary a pilot. So what we did is we overtrained so that you don't think, because firstly the weapon is the aircraft. You must be able to know how to use the weapon. And then secondly is you as a pilot. So we don't want to think in a situation what to do. It must be muscle memory already. And that's what I find with general aviation at this stage, that a lot of them, they think they know, but they don't really know how to solve the problem.
Just know what he doesn't know.
All I want to add really is regarding the human error side of things. What irks me really is when somebody said at least he died loving doing what he loves. I don't think you die because you love it. So to bring the flying into connection with that when the guy dies in an aeroplane and connect to human error, I think is grossly unfair. I didn't climb to the aircraft just now to have an accident. You know, you climb in there to do your job, to do what you must do. And unfortunately, like Charlie said, there's a pilot in an aeroplane, there's a human being in an aeroplane, so the first thing people want to do is that. I'm sure Kubazit tell me want to ask me something about airmanship, and that's connected with that. And if you look at the ICAO definition, I don't know the exact words, but it says it's a successful application of sound judgment and skills. If not correct. That's what ICAO definition is of airmanship. So, but it's hanging in the air a little bit, airmanship, doesn't it? I always thought airmanship is when you do things right and nobody's looking. There's nobody around to do it correctly. And to quantify airmanship or qualify it's difficult for some people. What is airmanship? It hangs in the air. And the one gentleman, I think he explained, he was at the airfield, brand new PPL. He was about to take off from runway 06. The wind swung around, and he called on the radio and said to the two other guys, "You're going to use 2-4." And they said, "Yes, we agree, let's use 2-4." So when he was airborne on final approach for 2-4, somebody else taken it out. So now I'm going to use 06, I don't care, I'm using a tailwind. So he's questioned it afterwards, who had the best airmanship? Because the other guy got airborne and he was out of the way soon enough, but perhaps he didn't completely display the airmanship that you tend to think comes from the professional pilots. Because the skills and attitude, I don't know if the PPL syllabus even handles that, skills, attitude and knowledge, I don't think so. I think that's such an important aspect of flying, and in airlines you'll find it now, that they bring it in. It's very important for the crew to understand those concepts, to continue further into a simulator rating. And I think at a PPL level, if it's not done, it should be part of it.
Thank you, Pierre. Sorry, I'll get back to you now. Just something I forgot to mention. We never had time to rehearse. So guys, everything comes from the heart and the soul. So if we try and think about it and we not argue about it, we don't do things, it's perfect. This is what we're here for. And it's amazing, and we are sometimes always referring to either the military or the airlines. And I've been in both, and I must say that the structure of training is just different. But then again, you're sitting in high performance teams and you're sitting in high financial type of operations. Compared to now to try and teach a pilot that's just got his own RV or he just wants to fly for leisure, it puts another ball game into it. But what I always ask, and there's one of our mentors, Captain Carl Jensen as well. The old, they say you can be an old pilot or a bold pilot, but never an old and bold pilot. I see a lot of old and bold pilots, that's for sure. We didn't do it because it had to be done, we did it because we loved doing it. And in the simplest way, and what Pierre is saying is actually concerned, because KSA, I always learned it as KSA, knowledge, skills, attitude, and you need those three to, and not only in flying, in anything you do, knowledge, skills, attitude. They say resilience has got two components. The one is competency, and the other one is confidence. Competency, confidence. Now what do you call confidence without competency? And I think that's where we're sitting. You've always got the competence, but not the competency. I always confuse the word. You've got the confidence and no competency. It's overconfidence. Actually, in fact, arrogance. Charlie, you wanted to say something as well on the pilot error side when we're still there.
I just want to say that I totally agree with what Dave is saying, and when we talk about James Reason and so on, and we obviously frequently use these abstracts and everything to, get our minds wrapped around it. SACAA talks only about an error, and they define it as an honest mistake, if you want to say, and a transgression as a deliberate sort of mistake. But in other words, that is where accountability comes in. I don't want to belabor the point, but the thing is that if we have the choice to do what we want or what we have to do, that is going to cut through all of it. If you've got a heart that believes in safety, you will take a positive stance towards doing what is right and not what you want to do. And that is only part of it, and we can talk. Nothing that he says is, I agree with everything, it's 100% there. But I want to get to the heart of the thing. Why do we dare, where angels, okay, never mind the angels, they don't have to fear to tread. But what are you doing at night if you haven't got a night rating? What are you doing under IF conditions if you haven't got an IF rating? And so I can carry on. Why are you finding yourself there? Was that just taking your clothes off because you don't know why? I don't know, we'll have to ask you. But it's all right, I'll let you lie down and ask you 17 questions and stuff like that. But it's really how it is.
So a teachable heart that I'm talking about is the heart that will accept that, listen guys, we've got the statistics. Now for once and for all, just listen. Stop this thing to saying, it's my aeroplane, I will do what I want to. I know, all right? But that really doesn't show, I'm not even talking human factors, but do you really respect yourself? I'm not so sure.
Charlie, I agree with that, and I think in my world there's a perverse almost pursuit of accidents. In what you've just mentioned, citing 113, there are probably thousands if you go into the archives, and how the same causality repeats itself. In a year's time when we sit here or at a different airfield, you probably would find that there'll be close to 113 again, and pretty similar with the outcomes, fatality-wise, accident-wise, losses-wise. And within that, getting back to the human condition rather than human error and focusing on the positive, what is concerning to me personally in the last year or so are the number of mechanical failures. And surely a pilot, I don't know of anyone, would jump into an unserviceable aircraft deliberately to go and look for trouble and see where he can find a spot to crash. So that human condition also draws through to maintenance engineers, ATCs, you mentioned it, Quivers, refuelers, technical ground support. It's a whole myriad of human conditions that are combined in one flight, and ultimately the crew, the pilots, are at the sharp end of this and are first at the scene of the accident. But looking for trouble perversely and not learning from what has happened before on so many previous occasions, I think that's almost criminal.
I forgot that we actually on the stoop, and I forgot the stoop part. There's one place where I'll meet you. What do you, and this is not old days, so it doesn't work like it anymore. What do you call a pregnant hostess? Pregnant air hostess. Now that is pilot error, right? I think we sorted this pilot error thing now. Just the last thing about, also we talk a lot about safety too, and safety differently. It's also the sharp end. What does it mean, the sharp end? Those are the people that's doing the job. Now, a lot of emergency HEMS people here, am I right? It's the rescue people. Many rescue, all guys rescue, search and rescue. Now, the question is what happens in our country, not in our country, it happens in the world. I'm taken up into the office and I'm not the boss of search and rescue. Barsa was Greg, I'm not going to take your place. And now I must write policies and procedures for you. And I write the policies and procedures. What are you going to do with those policies and procedures? Are they going to work? I've never been a search and rescue person, and I write the policies and procedures. And I'm just using this example now that I see the guys here. If I want to write those procedures, I go to you guys, I go to them and ask them, guys, how are we going to do this job? This is how we're going to do it, and that's the policies and procedures. And if nobody else knows better than themselves. And it's the same thing in aviation, and I'm not pointing fingers, I'm not blaming nothing and nobody. We've been in that thing, you get a job and you must write policies and procedures. Regulations, it's the same thing. Who writes the regulations? And I'm not talking about today, I'm talking about years ago. Because since Icarus, I don't know if you remember Icarus, I forgot his dad's name. The guys who flew in the sun, they tried to escape. Sorry?
Apollo.
Yeah, and his wings burnt off, he flew too close to the sun. So since the days of Icarus, pilots have been copped out to be the only ones that make mistakes. And damn it, we're also just human. This morning I said, we're also so much stupid, because we fall for all this stuff. So just something about safety differently, that's a huge thing. Who writes the procedures? And if you look at, for instance, Boeing Max, you look at everything, they never even told the pilots they've got this thing. Air France 447, the Titanic, there's so many examples. And I think we have to break away with that. So yes, having said that, let's get to another thing. If somebody alluded to this morning, Eric said, it said that 8 out of 10 go-around pilots, I always say go-around pilots are safe pilots, am I right? As general aviation pilots, adjust their skills and knowledge better than what they are. Is that true? When we spoke about it. So you judge yourself, I'm actually hot shot. Is that true? Am I hot shot? Yeah. Okay, can I I would like quick comments, everybody, it's fine. Is Yuba a hot shot? Yes, I know. But the question is now, if you go back, we try and get to general aviation. The guys that are there that don't work in systems, we've all worked in systems. We understand how it works and how it doesn't work. Now, unfortunately, it's the only reason why I don't keep on flying. It's the same reason I don't have a Porsche. It gets a bit expensive if your son is flying. At least Pierre and you guys are still flying and you're still in the game. But few of you are there where you're really flying your own aircraft. And I think that's where the difference comes in. You don't work in a system. You are the system. And that's where I think sometimes safety goes wrong. Any comments on that?
But perhaps on the reason why the pilots think they're better than they are. I don't think you get into this flying game because you think you're not going to make it. You actually want to be a pilot. You want to be good. So I don't think you'll climb into an aeroplane if you think, oh, today I'm not going to make it. I'm not going to land, have a good landing. Perhaps it's simplifying it, but I don't think they're wrong in thinking that. If you don't think that way, then you should probably don't fly the aeroplane.
Because we discussed this a while ago at the time of the helicopter safety group, in how quickly basic skills for all of us, not only professional pilots, waned in 18 months that COVID was upon us. You couldn't do a ground run on an aircraft, let alone fly it. And the frustration levels of pilots, engineers, anyone involved with aviation, how quickly they jumped on our backs. More so, how those skills waned. And the number of accidents, almost a spike immediately after the lockdown was withdrawn. How quickly we could see that. So I think there's a huge inclination towards what we're busy with, because there's a hugely and hell of a romantic side to flying that we all like and that we all aspire to. But the unromantic side of it, as I call it, is quite harrowing when you see a pilot's spares or a burnt out aircraft and people grieving. And how we address that is very important. Again, back to the human condition.
And my answer is not saying that pilots are better. The question was, why do pilots think so? And I think they should think that. Doesn't mean they are really that good.
Yeah, I think most of like what I said earlier on about general aviation, is that the people don't really know all the dangers out there. We were talking about flying safety earlier on, but they don't really understand because they don't have the experience. And a lot of people read up stuff, but we don't have the hanger talk like we used to have and say, listen here, this is the story, this is what's going on. They accept once you pass the test with a PPL, I know because I've got the responsibility now and I can carry on. But then for 2 years, there's nobody that's checking on him. Whether he is actually still that. And I normally say to the guys, come back to me in 50 hours or 6 months and let's see you haven't taught yourself some bad manners. Do things wrong. I've seen it, or I see it daily, where people do that.
I found myself to be the best or the biggest leveler of my own ego. I've come close to writing off a few aeroplanes, and each time I've thought, David, you idiot, what were you thinking? With hindsight, those are learning opportunities, but they're also opportunities to go forward with a different attitude, a very humble attitude, and one that keeps the reality of what this game is. It is a very different feeling sitting here in this awesome environment talking about accidents. And I can say this confidently as for my background as a paramedic, but I'm sure quite a few people in this group here could identify with what I'm about to say. The feeling of being at an actual accident where you're in front of a dead body is a very grave feeling. It's a feeling of hopelessness, feeling of tragedy, of sadness. And the reality of what it is that has occurred is deathly silent. You actually wish that the entire world would stop turning for a little bit, just to acknowledge this gravity of the situation that you're facing. And we tend to be in our bubble, and we don't realize just how close we are. So I found that by leveling my own ego, and by remembering what I'm actually dealing with, and the potential, I think a little bit more.
So that's nail on the head. Remember that everything that I perceive becomes my belief that it is the truth. Until you can change my perception. And therefore, if my perception of myself is this hero kind, or I can't, duck in front of my peers, then that's going to be your truth and your reality. So I like very much what he's saying, that we need a reality check. And that's why I said this morning, it's maybe time that you can stand and look at the man or the woman in the mirror and say, hey, come on, own up. Just let's cut through all of this nonsense and say to each other. Now, if your mind cannot be changed by somebody else, then there's a blockage. So the first thing is to acknowledge that you have a problem, and I'm not a psychologist, but I will say that I know where I've got a problem. Then I go to somebody that will say, listen, but I've got this. What can I do? What must I do? How must I perform? How? That is the respect that I am trying to reset myself. I've got so many t-shirts that nobody else should have. Nobody would like to have them. Unfortunately, or luckily, I learned through them. Now, I think it was Langenhoven that said it, and it obviously came from before, where they said, and I'll give it in my own words, you're pretty stupid if you learn from your own mistakes when you have the opportunity to learn from somebody else's. Think about that one. Really? And that's why we do the write-ups and say, all right, we understand what happened in the accident, but come on, let's give some tips. How do we check ourselves? How do we carry on and forward? We have to change our idea that we are the only and the only truth that exists.
Thank you for that. The rain coming as well. Let's see if we can, well, We've got some time, if you don't mind, a few more questions. The story with ego comes out all the time, and you know, not everybody's a Top Gun, but not even Top Gun is really a Top Gun. You know, so the question of ego is basically, if I can find it now again, well, how big of a role do pilot attitude and personality play in aircraft accidents? And I think, Charlie, you actually just touched on exactly that. You know, there's an ego, but there's also a difference between an ego and a passion of purpose. I would say the passion of purpose separates the shakers and doers from the shaker and stern. And I think pilots are people that, you know, you get three types of people: those who watch things happen, those who make things happen, those who wonder what the hell has happened. And pilots are definitely not the latter. And unfortunately, there's some ego and there's some personality involved. And the question is, how does it start? Now, I think we were very fortunate, most of us, growing up in the military, then going to the airlines, getting into combat situations, and then you learn to flip it quickly. And there's no place for ego and status. And I always say, no guts, no glory. No guts also means stand up and deliver and say, I'm wrong, I can be wrong, in the midway. And it's always wondered, and I think in general aviation, when you get up in the morning and look in the mirror, we live with checklists. Why don't we have a little checklist? You put it out there, say, am I safe? There's already one. And I think especially for the youngsters who are not here today, which is a pity, to grow up differently to what we did. And I'm not saying the way we grew up was right. All I'm saying, we were given a far better fighting chance than the average general aviation pilot today. Some people, I mean, I had to join the Air Force. My dad wanted to pay for my flying. We all wanted to fly. And then, you're in the deep end. But number one, you get paid from day one. But you have to produce. And it's as simple as that. And I think we just grew up differently. And I don't know if it's really the difference today with the world, the millennials. It's just different. Because you want to fly, how are you going to do it? You're not most probably going to the Air Force and you're on your own from the day beginning. And I think never ever forget, you never ever on your own, okay? You can always find any one of us here. I don't know everything, but I know a lot of people that know everything, that knows everything. There's Mayday and things like that, guys. We must get that word out as there. We are not invulnerable, and we have to take up and be accounted for. I think also the accountability of safety, or let me finish with that. A quick, maybe going around, in your opinion, what, I'll cut it a little bit short whilst here, just for the lane, otherwise if there's more questions we can do that as well. What do you think kept you safe and you can still sit here today and talk about safety? Is there anything that stands out?
Because I'll gladly answer that. And just take a step back, I think the power of a peer, not review, but a peer system and a mentorship system in our lives, way beyond flying, but specifically in flying, is invaluable. And I'll cite one minute example. I was in Mozambique with big floods in 2000, and it was mayhem to get supplies and rescue and conquer the world while the water's coming down. And in the mayhem one afternoon, the client came and said, can we please go to this little remote village? There are people floating away and it's going to be an absolute catastrophe, but the weather was particularly foul. And an old ex-SAF chopper driver was there. It wasn't you, Charlie. And he took me aside when the pressure started coming onto me as a young pilot, and he took me aside and he said, why do you want to go and create another emergency? You are already here to render assistance for the emergency. Why create another emergency? And the value of that old guy, he was probably 60 years old at that time, he'd seen the war, he'd seen floods, he'd seen earthquakes, you name it, he'd been all over the world where there was trouble. But a few kind words really stopped me that day and got me thinking about what am I busy with there. To prove something to myself, to prove something to the client, to prove something to the other young pilots around me, or just to take stock of what we're busy with. And why was it necessary not to create another emergency in that moment?
Talking about the military, if you take our environments that we were sitting, it actually goes about survival. Because you must face quite a few things out there, and if you don't know how to do it, then you've got trouble. And that's mainly why I'm talking about myself now, that the survival instinct that you have forces you to understand everything about the aviation part of it. And that's now including your aircraft capabilities, your own capabilities, and if you put everything together, how can you do something and survive the situations where, in general aviation, you're more on your own devices, left over to your own devices. And once we talk safety, it's not the same impact that we have as in the military. Also with us in the military, over those periods, the competition was very high, so you had to perform. You had to really go and do everything you can to stay in line with what the mainstream is doing in the military itself.
Could add to these great points and say that I think embracing the concept of resilience is really important. When you accept that you need to make yourself personally more resilient, you're accepting that things are going to sometimes not go your way. And those resilience skills include your aviating skills, but also your skills that are non-technical, your leadership skills, your decision-making skills, your skills in managing your own fatigue, your own stress levels. These are all extremely important preparation tools to increase your resilience.
I want to remind everybody that, we're talking about the propensity for risk, or this guy takes risks and stuff like that. If I would have the ability to resurrect, let's say, somebody from 150 years ago, and I put him in a car on the highway here, they will die of a heart attack before we get wherever. Because that must be the most frightening thing, to see things move so fast and so past each other. But we take it for granted. So every day, and by human nature, you will get used to that whatever you've done or doing, if it's wrong and you get away with it, you're going to start to believe that that is the correct way. That's the human nature. And remember, the more we get used to danger, the more danger we've got an aptitude for. Be very careful. That is by human nature that you're going to do that. Is it bad? Well, it's bad if you overdo it. Is it good? Yes, otherwise I wouldn't have been able to do many of the jobs that I've done. But here's the point. I've got to stay in my lane. I don't jump into somebody else's lane. If you're the best. No, I am not the best. If I want somebody who can work on mountain rescue, then I'll go and get somebody there. If I want somebody to fly the 737 backs, then I'll get somebody that can do that. Right? So there's experts out there. Go to the experts. Do not go to your chommies, because they will only talk nice about you later on.
Yeah, from my side, I just think I want to commend the Civil Aviation Authority for this initiative. It's a pity the target audience is not sitting out there, but I trust it will filter down to the flight schools and people who really, really need it. But even listening to these gentlemen made me think again about certain aspects of my life. 99 I did my first display in the L39, and how it came about, they said, go do conversion, please go display it in Sydney. That was it. None of the structures we have today was in place then. You just winged it. And I was very lucky that I had the golden thread of the Air Force career, the training I had in harvest and so forth. That's all I had. And I managed to do it. But today we've got everything in place to make it better. So it should be no reason, and it shouldn't be belittled what civil aviation is doing and Pierre Lauption with the display authorization and how it must come about. It just makes it safer, and if that doesn't work, then something is wrong.
Thank you, Pierre. Yeah, just to we can ask maybe Eric. I don't know if Eric has any questions.
That's what worries me. Yeah, in the deep sects. And if we talk about how can we can sit here today, and we grew up in structures, and I think that was very important. Carl, you like this one most. Dave, you flew tail draggers? Okay, but you didn't fly choppers, so it's okay.
No.
It's okay. We grew up on tail draggers. I mean, that's how we was. And you were moord if you don't get it right. Oh, don't worry, you'll get it right tomorrow. You're not spending your dad's money. You were spending state money, jaging on. And if I think it's one thing that my dad taught me, and it came into flying at his flying schools as well, is modesty or humility. And by that I mean, you know you never know everything, and you know you never will know everything. But to go up to anybody and ask for help. In these times we're sitting now, Mayday, I think Ari and Andrea will know that there's so many guys still sitting without jobs. But I mean, what brought me here, I think today, is that one thing I knew, I'd always had somebody to have my back. And I can go and speak with somebody, and I was never shy to ask a question. A lot of times I tell you a question, I know, that's my personality, and I think that brought me here. And everybody here, I mean, Dave, everyone, Pierre, and there was a time that we sat down and said there is a problem somewhere. Being involved now still with the pilots associations as well, and I see how many people are going out there and they try and do everything on their own. That's not how aviation works. And in any time you know somebody that can help you. We spoke a lot about, you get to know a little bit more about it as gas goes. Johan Lotteren put it together, UDI, the undue domineering influences that we have in our careers. And there's various things that can be that, and you have to speak up. And if you don't know, ask people, just don't go and try and do it on your own. I know he's preaching to the converted, yeah? So, yeah, look, thank you very much for listening to us. I enjoyed the panel. Thank you for joining me. And thank you for the impromptuness, because I think if you rehearse something, you know, then you're not knowing what you're talking about. And I appreciate everybody's input into it. So lastly, for pilots out there, you know, that's your responsibility to stay safe. It's your responsibility towards the people that's flying with you to be safe. It's your responsibility to those who share the airspace with you to be safe. And the other thing, remember, it's your responsibility for the people below you to keep it safe. Thank you so much. You know?
Can we give these gentlemen another round of appreciation, please?
Yeah, sure.
We did not prescribe to Kobus or in Stellenbosch to Eon what he needs to do, you know. We wanted some real opinion. We didn't want to tell you guys what to say, and I think the industry appreciates it. We have a slightly different opinion on, yes, there's not 150 people here, or 250 people here, but the decision makers are here. The people that has influence over the industry are here. We got, in general aviation, we got representation of most of the AROs present today. We got Aero Club present today. So hopefully they will take this back. We got organizations like Airshow South Africa, Mayday. So hopefully they'll take this message back, and let's make this grow into something workable to reduce accidents. I'm going to excuse these gentlemen. They can go stand in the rain again if they want to. I just got a couple of last things that I need to take care of. A couple of thank yous.
I actually got a prize there for somebody that can tell me, when you fly, there's 3 important things. What's the number 1? You can just shout out. Money. Okay, Andre, thanks. You're not going to win nothing. The first thing we all know is safety. What is the second one? Any takers? Yes? Planning. I like the word planning. It goes with efficiencies. Do you agree? It's legal, plan it. Okay. Now, guys, here's a trick question. What's the third one? Yeah. No, that's number 1. If you can't get number 1, I've got a prize here for somebody. If you don't get it right, I'll take it because I know the answer. What is the third one? Safe, efficiently, and?
Fun.
Sorry?
Fun!
Who said that? Come and get your aircraft. Oh no, Carl, you don't count. You heard this many times. No, please. And he works for the CA now, yeah. Santon, something Santon? Anybody else? Somebody else said fun, didn't they?
F fun.
Then Carl.
I've got one of those.
Okay, so come on, Carl. Now go and have fun. But what's important, that's number 3. It's never number 1.
Thanks, Kobus. So I've got the easy job of thanking everybody and closing the 2022 event, part of the Accident Reduction Week. So I want to start with Kitty Hawk. Kitty Hawk, thank you. I know the management's here. Thank you very much for hosting us. It's a great venue. We thoroughly enjoyed it. Everybody here thoroughly enjoyed it. The catering was good. You guys fed us well. Thank you very much. Next, do you guys see that white 222 standing over there? That comes from Dr. Andre Kutsia. He parked it here for the day to Henley. And Andre, thank you very much for being here, you know, and for your efforts. All the way from Bloemfontein, from Charlie, where are you? We used you now. I can actually say we abused him, you know, in Stellenbosch and over here. Thank you very much for your time. Much appreciated. The other guest speakers, Juba, good display, Pierre Gous, Kobus. Thank you very much. You know, we need your expertise here. There's another gentleman. He did not get naked during the braai. We did ask him nicely after his talk. You know, Mr. David Dole. Thank you very much. You know, much appreciated. We'll definitely call on you again. Then, of course, Mayday South Africa for being here. They were in Stellenbosch as well. I hope it was good for you guys as it was for us. Thanks for being here. And we will convey the messages as well. Legend Sky, that's the wonderful aircraft that's parked over here. They made it available for the pre-flight competition. Thank you very much. Please convey the messages to whoever needs to get it. Then, of course, the whole of the search and rescue units for South Africa that's parked here for today. Greg, where are you, Greg? There he is at the back. Greg, I must be honest, he's from the ARCC. We worked with him in Stellenbosch. We worked with him now. Those are the people whose number you guys need. You need to put that number into your phone, into your wife's phone, into your children's phone. Those are the people that you need or you're going to call in a time of need. So please speak to Greg if you haven't spoken to him yet. He gave nice posters the other day. I'm sure he's going to give a couple of posters over here as well, that you guys can put up and distribute. And then, I think that's it. I think we need to get to the fun part now, of which is a bit of prizes. Carl already won a prize, so he can't get another one. There's one other person I missed, sorry, and I kept him for last. You know, that's Mr. Rikus Erasmus. He's a Bosbok pilot, so we will excuse him, you know. I'm just joking, Rikus, but without you, Stellenbosch would not have been possible, Kitty Hawk would not have been possible. You laid a good foundation, high level. It's going to be difficult to top these 2 weekends, you know. So thank you very much, Rikus, much appreciated. Pierre is pointing another one I missed. Sorry, Pierre, I can't see who you're talking to. Yeah, Nigel Musgrave, the safety officer, you know, making it safe today. Thank you very much. And then, of course, I need to mention this for those that did not take part of the ANR rally. So these guys had this whole ANR planned, and this route they had to fly was actually spelling CAA, which was pretty awesome, you know, with a curve and everything. That was quite awesome. I did send out the link, you guys can follow it, you know, it's really, really nice. But with that, if I missed somebody, you know, please forgive me. We'll do it again and I'll thank you again. So, let's get to the prizes. I'm only going to give away one. We're going to call that Airmanship Prize. That was supposed to go to a first, second, third for the ANR. The ANR, there was only 2 aircraft flying. They got airborne. One finished, one had to divert because of the weather. They did come to show us the results. So Mr. Rob Jonkers, is he still here from Aero Club? Yeah. And Sapfa.
That's the number 1.
It looks like Rob's not here anymore. Rob is inside there. Rob is inside there. So we're giving him a good airmanship award. He's not the winner of the ANR, but he's a good airman. So, Rob, congratulations.
Very good, Rob. Yay. Take
I must say,
R1,000 and enjoy it.
I must say, I don't know if you guys know Wings and Things.
Yeah.
Well, Rob's going to enjoy a bit of shopping at Wings and Things. Then I would like to invite 2 people to the front here with me. They've been start markers, you know, in Stellenbosch and over here in Kitty Hawk, and I just felt it's the right thing if they hand over the prizes, and that's Claudette and Solly. They've been doing the pre-flight competition. They worked the whole day in Stellenbosch in the sun there, and the rain over here in the rain as well. So if they can just come to the front. I'll tell you guys a bit. We had a difficult time today with this pre-flight competition. There was one clear winner, and then there was about 4 people with the same mark. So then we use the criteria, first of all, to see how many errors did they find. And then we went via license. So a SPL got more points than a PPL, and a PPL got more points than a CPL. So I got the results here. I don't know if Claudette didn't know, but I'm going to hand over the microphone to Claudette. She can start off with
That guy's solid. I helped him with an accident investigation last time. Yeah. He came and gave me a hug when I walked in.
Good man.
Good afternoon, everybody, and thank you all for being such good sports. Thank you so much, Mr. Dave, for allowing us to use your aircraft. So there were a couple of faults on the aircraft, minor things that we asked you guys to identify for us. So in third place, we have a student pilot license holder. He identified a couple of snags put on the aircraft, and that is Yaku Ensley. Thank you so much. Congratulations. Thank you. In second place, we have a PPL holder and a female, Miss Mari Reddy.
Yes, for Maria. Oh, by Maria.
Congratulations.
Well done, Maury.
So she's also going to have a nice time shopping at Wings and Things. Okay, and then for our first prize, we do have a CPL holder. You are not able to pick up your prize because this is how big this first prize is. It will be couriered to you for you to enjoy. And we are, this goes to Mr. Ari Levine. Congratulations.
She said she can't pick him up. What did she say?
Thank you for being a great sport as well. Thank you to everybody for participating. And so there were more than the snags listed. Obviously, we had a list that we were checking. So thank you for identifying the other things as well. We'll make sure that the aircraft is serviceable before she leaves. Thank you so much. Over to you, Eric.
Thanks, Claudette. Yeah, the rain spoiled a bit of a fun. We could have handed out some more prizes, some more validation certificates and so forth. But with that said, thanks for your participation, for being here. We appreciate it. We are hoping to do a lot more of these events in the near future. And with that said, thank you very much. Enjoy the club. Please support the club. All those legends that were sitting here, they are going to be inside there. Please go shake their hand, have a couple of things to say to them. Give them a bit of advice, ask a bit of advice, and enjoy it. Have a wonderful evening, guys.
Thank you for watching this episode of Lesotho's Pride. This safety panel discussion was brought to help you, the general aviation pilot, as a reminder to equip yourself with the right knowledge, skills, and attitude to reduce your likelihood of being involved in an accident or incident. If you're a young pilot, you've just started your flight training, you've got low hours of flight time, and you want to learn more on the causes of accidents to protect yourself, check out my Air Crash Safety Report series in the thumbnail above.